Well, I was going to hold off doing video production for a while, and then a bunch of things happened which made me want to do it again. One of the things that happened was I got a bad grade on a test. And so as part of my repentance to get extra credit, I had to make a podcast of the UW Eau Claire fight song with me singing it, along with my fat pal Fenris the Wolf. So I thought, well, I have this wonderful production capability and I have some things to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about a book I read when I was a freshman in college, which happened to be the year of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's by a writer named Ray Bradbury, and the book title is Fahrenheit 451. It's a dystopian view of the future where fireman's job, the job of a fireman, my late brother was a Madison firefighter, an officer and director of fire education, was to go around and burn books. Now, what I'm concerned about is that there's almost like an orgy of destruction that people, librarians, feel about paper books, as if they want to get them out of the library as fast as they can, never buy them again, and consign everything to the dumpster. Well, I started thinking about this, and it made me worried because I have it on the authority of Colonel Angelo Libero, retired United States Air Force intelligence, that the whole information infrastructure of this country is highly vulnerable to the effects of, say, a handful of terrorist nuclear electromagnetic bursts. And what that would mean was this whole information infrastructure where we thought we had access to these things that we've built up over the last couple thousand of years or so, we suddenly lose access and we have no way to rebuild what we've lost. Probably the saddest thing about, now we're almost to the end of the second decade of the 21st century, is we've slipped into a kind of reverse complacency where we assume that the world we have now is always going to be the world as it will exist. Now, 120 years ago, actually 125 years ago, when H.G. Wells wrote, and some of you remember him from the book War of the Worlds, number of science fiction writers, other projects, he was revolutionary because he envisioned a world not of continuity. The generation that read H.G. Wells was reading about a blueprint for the future in which he projected the idea of nuclear war. He projected the idea, the possibility of the British Empire being brought to its knees. He rejected the possibility of society being broken into two races, the Eli and the Morlocks. The Morlocks being cannibalistic industrial workers working below the ground, and the Eli basically appearing to be the intelligentsia, but in fact being the sort of like beef cattle for the Morlocks. Now, I just got in touch with a young friend of mine who is a doctoral candidate in psychology and knows a fair amount about neurobiology. And I did a little experiment where I sent a question out to 13 of my friends who I thought might be able to help me about maybe parallels between what they call neurological pruning and the transportation problem in economics, military logistics, actually the thing that runs the internet, the servers. And I was wondering if the process by which we humans, brains sort of prune pathways, eliminating pathways we don't use for efficiency of communication, might be better understood as we thought about the transportation problem. Now, in the process of doing this, I started looking back at an aspect of military logistics that I'm interested in, and this in turn led me to information on Nazi war criminals and psychiatric profiles of them, and I guess the nature of evil. And so I ended up spending many hours following up like an initial note in a composition, which was a research walk that I took that had me end up in a place where I can do work on 3 book contracts that I'm having. Now, there's a world of information out there, and some of it's accessible, some of it is not. Actually, the most interesting information of all, I think, is the information that's accessible in our memories. Now, when I decided that I would get back into the book business, I did so because I had read Fahrenheit 451 when I was 18 years old, about at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. If you put those together, you can date me. And so that led me to talk to my representative from Advanced Book Exchange to activate my account. Now, part of the reason I'll do this is, yeah, I need money to support other projects, but there's a lot of faculty who are retiring. They have lifetime libraries that they've built up. And if nobody does anything, these libraries, which represent a life's work of scholarship, contribution, really big ideas, ends up festering in somebody's dumpster before it goes to a landfill. Now, maybe if it's the right kind of landfill, like an Irish bog, then 10,000 years from now, the aliens may have information that there was, in fact, a great civilization on the planet Earth before it reverted to this great age of darkness. So I guess this is kind of a memorable day because I'm doing this videotape. I've set up my booksellers account again. I'm going to be opening up my business office, and it's sort of supporting my research agenda. And this is an ad hoc way of me saying, as far as my production capabilities go, that involves using it or losing it also. And yeah, I'm doing pretty good on my weight program, by the way, and I'm becoming a better vegan all the time. But not an ideological sort of one where I look down at everybody else. I just like the fact that there's a lot of really good stuff that I can eat a lot of. It makes me feel good. It makes me more effective. And this is the first of many more video productions that are going to follow, which may deal with a specific topic, interviews with local authors, parallels about the history of the book before we destroy them all. And I think I'll wrap up with that and say you'll be seeing more from me. And this is Phil Kaveny closing off.